In 2013, a 19-year-old dropped a document on the internet and accidentally started a financial revolution that governments still can't control. Today, that idea moves hundreds of billions of dollars, funds wars, builds economies, and it might just change who actually owns the internet. This is the story of Vitalik Buterin and the system he built that nobody can shut down. The question you should be asking yourself right now isn't about price, it's about power. Can a system with no leader actually survive? And if it can, what happens to the world we live in now? Let's find out. Vitalik Buterin was born in 1994 in Russia during the final collapse of the Soviet Union. His family moved to Canada when he was 6, like many educated Russian families did at the time, seeking stability and opportunity. He was a quiet kid with a delayed speech development when he was younger, but he was unusually good with numbers and systems. By age 7, his hobby was writing a detailed encyclopedia for a fictional universe he invented. He built economic rules, political structures, and logic systems for a world that didn't even exist. He just had a brain that processed the world as a series of systems to be understood and optimized. Then, World of Warcraft happened. He played a paladin, and in one update, the game nerfed a core ability. For him, this was a pivotal moment. He saw firsthand that in any centralized system, the people who run it can change the rules whenever they want. Your time, your effort, your progress, it all exists at their pleasure. That realization stuck with him. A few years later, he found Bitcoin. Most people at the time saw it as either a weird internet experiment or a way to make quick money. Vitalik saw something else. He saw a system where the rules were enforced by code and consensus, not by a central authority. But he also saw the constraint. Bitcoin moved value. That's it. It wasn't built for anything more. Vitalik started asking what a platform would look like if it could do everything Bitcoin couldn't. That question led to everything that followed. Vitalik called it Ethereum and described it as the infinite garden, a place where anyone could plant a seed of code and watch it grow into a bank, a game, an identity, or a country. A platform for programmable digital infrastructure. A machine that, once turned on, could never be turned off by any single person or government. He was just 19 years old, and almost immediately, the garden nearly died. The early teen fought over money and control. Some wanted to become a corporation, take venture capital, and get rich. Others wanted to become a ghost and let the idea run free. There were late-night arguments in small rooms in Switzerland. Vitalik made the hardest call. He was initially reluctant to leave. He was just a scrawny kid who wrote on a white paper, but the community trust pushed him forward. He killed the company, and he let the garden belong to no one. And in 2015, it was time for the garden to blossom. The Genesis block was mined, and once it was breathing, there was no way to pull the plug. Not a government, not a hacker, not even Vitalik himself. But the beautiful machine had an ugly secret. It was devouring the planet. The electricity it consumed could power a small nation. The garden was green, but it was running on coal and fire. And the whole world was asking, if this thing keeps growing, can we afford to let it live? The community had an answer, but it was insane. They decided to rebuild the engine while the car was driving 200 miles per hour down the highway. They called it the Merge. In September of 2022, after years of research and testing, the Ethereum network prepared for a transition that had never been attempted before. A complete overhaul of the consensus mechanism while the network was live, processing billions of dollars in value. If it failed, billions could disappear overnight. The entire experiment could collapse in a single moment of code failure. Fortunately, it didn't fail. In one single breathtaking moment of global coordination, without a boss, without a decree, without anyone in charge, the entire network shifted. Thousands of developers, validators, and users around the world, people who had never met each other, coordinated to flip the switch. Overnight, Ethereum erased 99.95% of its energy consumption. To put that in perspective, it is the equivalent of reducing global electricity use by 0.2%. It is arguably the single largest decarbonization event in the history of human technology, and no one ordered it to happen. They just agreed. This is the part where the story gets interesting, because the garden flourished. It funded refugees, In countries like Argentina, where inflation is ravaging the local currency, people use Ethereum-based stablecoins just to preserve their savings. When the war in Ukraine broke out, the government raised millions in crypto donations within days because Ethereum doesn't care about borders or banking hours. It gave artists a $10 billion economy overnight through NFTs. And if you actually want to see this system in real time, where money is flowing, that's exactly what the FOMO app tracks. It's basically a live map of the Ethereum ecosystem, showing you the on-chain activity. So if you want to stay tuned and informed about the current state of crypto, go download FOMO from the App Store now. But here's the catch. The garden isn't monitored by any authority, and that means the weeds grow just as fast as the flowers. The same technology that helps a refugee in Argentina preserve their savings is being exploited by the world's most dangerous actors. Nation-state hackers have turned crypto theft into a funding mechanism for weapons programs, with North Korea being the most visible and aggressive player in that game. There have been billion-dollar heists, and of course, there is the speculative madness that dominates the headlines. Meme coins pump and dump. Retail savings get wiped out by greed, and the whole thing sometimes looks less like a revolution and more like a casino where chaos is the only certainty. Vitalik watches all of this with the eyes of someone who understands exactly what he built. He didn't set out to create a gambling den. He set out to build an alternative to the centralized tech giants he genuinely dislikes. Companies like Facebook and Google, which he believes exploit users through platforms designed to be addictive. That is the opposite of what he wanted. He wanted a tool for digital democracy and community building, a system that empowers people instead of harvesting their attention. But he also knows that tools do not come with moral instructions. Fire can warm a home or burn a village. The technology does not care how it is used. He sees himself as the gardener, not the king. He has deliberately stepped back from technical decision-making because his ultimate goal is for Ethereum to outlive him entirely and to be for the people, by the people. Because here is the truth. Ethereum is not controlled by a company or a single authority. It is controlled by the people, and that means its future is not decided by the code or an authority. It is decided by all of us. The 19-year-old who sketched the blueprint for a new internet built something that now belongs to everyone and no one at the same time. And if you want to see what's growing right now, which projects are actually growing, and what the smartest minds in the space are watching out for, FOMO is worth having in your pocket. The future of the internet is not being decided in a boardroom meeting. It's being decided in X posts, Discord servers, and wallets all over the world. And that means you're already part of the story, whether you realize it or not.